you know, it's only a per capita bill, but for crying out loud, get all the crazies in it. We're trying to get it covered because
It should be.
He earned, it was really good for the first couple of years, but then after that, he didn't get
they have to do something different.
so he put the little vaults and he put the earnings in them, and he could sell it close to them. And you can get as much for those as you do for a great one.
A picture, a lot of people do it on the internet. Really cute.
Yeah, they're always for sale, but nobody's buying them. I live right there, I watch the cemetery.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting behind it now.
You're gonna get old. What's happening?
Okay, the regular public meeting of the Township of Whitehall Board of Commissioners will come to order. After the pledge, we'll have a moment of silence for our troops serving home and abroad. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular public meeting of June 10th, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
President Hauer?
Yes.
Passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
We'll start with public hearing and voting on liquor license transfer. Resolution number 3073. A resolution approving the transfer of Pennsylvania Restaurant Liquor License number R-15695 to Dunn Manning Stores LLC, Allentown, Pennsylvania, for use at 2724 MacArthur Road, Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Stand.
The applicant's attorney is present for a hearing.
He's absent tonight, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I told him we could share. Are you guys okay with that?
My name's Attorney Matthew Anderson. I am here tonight on behalf of Dunn Manning Stores LLC. I work for Norris McLaughlin, a law firm in Allentown. We represent a lot of liquor licensees across the state, especially since Acts 39 and 166 of 2016, which amended the liquor code to permit convenience stores and grocery stores to hold liquor licenses for mostly for takeout beer sales, but as you'll see, some of them have expanded to takeout wine sales. I know the board is familiar with these laws and the rules, as there's been a few of them before you in the last few weeks. So I won't belabor into the legalese or any of that too much, but a little bit about this project. My client, Dunn Manning Stores, operates and owns gas stations in, I think, 10 different states across the eastern seaboard. They operate a lot of gas stations and convenience stores in the state of Pennsylvania. Currently, about 5 of them have liquor licenses, and we've been slowly acquiring them through the liquor license auctions the Liquor Control Board's having. But they also have 120 stores in other states that have liquor licenses and sell beer or wine to go or whatever the state permits that they're in. In Pennsylvania, Dunn Manning is only selling beer at their stores right now. They have no intention to sell wine at this point. They usually do a to-go beer sales in 12-packs and 6-packs, not too many singles. A lot of their stores are on the smaller side, so they don't have a ton of space to open up the large coolers you'll see full of single beers or cans that people can take out to go. They have a corporate policy of 100% carding or IDing for every customer. It's the same policy they have for tobacco sales. So when a customer comes in, if they want beer, no matter how old they are, they're getting carded. If they want tobacco products, no matter how old they are, they're getting carded. They've had success with avoiding any issues by advancing their tobacco policy with their alcohol sales in the state. A little bit about what the law requires for these. They have to have 400 square feet of licensed service area within any premises to have a restaurant liquor license. As you may or may not know, the restaurant liquor license permits the sale of beer, wine, and spirits for on-premises consumption and beer sales to go for off-premises consumption. An additional permit can be obtained from the state to sell wine to go for off-premises consumption, which you'll see some of the grocery stores have started to obtain. Currently, Dunn Manning does not have any of those permits, and they do not plan to get the wine expanded permit, but their business model is the to-go beer sales. They sell generally 12 and 6-packs to go. They do not, I think, statistic they show is about 1% of customers, if that, have actually purchased a beer and consumed it at the premises. But they do have a 2-beer limit on their premises because they are required to allow someone to drink under the restaurant license if they want to. They do not have to let them have as many as they want. They can limit the amount that they have, and they obviously are always under the obligation to review visibly intoxicated people, review whether minors are getting any alcohol, and all the other requirements that they have. They're required to have 30 seats at the location, and you'll see an exhibit, I believe it's 5. They have a floor plan proposed, very rough. Again, this is the initial part of this process. This license was acquired at the liquor license auction. We are under a time deadline to transfer that, which the first step would be obtaining approval from the township tonight. But it's a very rough sketch. It's the general layout of the store. You'll see that they have kind of, I think I'll call it circles that aren't filled in. Those are essentially, I guess you can call it bar seating, although it's just going to be against a wall. They cram them in like this because, again, as I said, they don't have too many customers actually sit there and enjoy them, but enjoy their drinks or their food. But they are required to have the 30 seats under the liquor code. There's no way around that. If you do not have 30 seats, they won't approve the transfer. You always have to have 30 seats. You can't stack them. You can't put them away. In addition to 30 seats, you have to have food for sale on the premises, whether it's made by you or a third party. So they have their standard hot dogs, other convenience store items, and they also have prepared sandwiches that are made off-site and brought in on a daily basis for sale to their customers. But if you'll see on this Exhibit 5, they have the dashed areas are the areas where licensed premises will be. The reason it's split up is because the way the state has interpreted the liquor code and the new laws is that you cannot mix bulk grocery items, which can be anything from a large bag of chips to a large gallon of milk. Anything that's non-food related would be a grocery item. You can't have that for sale on a licensed premises. So we are required to split up those premises from the licensed areas to be able to license them under the liquor code. If they wanted to license the entire store, they'd have to get rid of any large format food items they sell or large format drink items they sell. Any motor oil, any toiletries or anything like that would have to go as well. So that's why you'll see the deviation of the licensed versus unlicensed areas. On the right side of that exhibit, you'll see the 20 by 8 cooler. That currently exists right now. That will stay there. There's not much construction planned if this is approved. They have to put the seating in and a few walls if anything, but the cooler will be split about 50-50. Beer sales, and the other 50% will be water, iced teas, single-serve drink items that they commonly have there now. And that will be the only area they have alcohol on the premises. That will be in full view of their employees at all times. It's not a huge store, but they do have a very big policy on watching that area, watching the beer. They have cameras everywhere. They just redid the interior and exterior cameras in the building. And they, as I said, have an 100% carding policy. From what I understand, they don't have too many criminal issues at this location, and they plan to continue that as well if they do get licensed. My other exhibits, A1 is just the application, which I believe you all probably have seen already. A2, you can see the overhead of the location. As you all know, it is right on the Main Street corridor there on MacArthur Road in the heavy commercial area. Right behind it is the Lowe's Shopping Center with their parking lot. I believe to the right on this plan was a Pier 1 Imports or another home decor store, and to the left was that McDonald's, which I believe is turning into a bank. So as you can see, it's a very commercial area. There's no neighborhoods. Everything's blocked off. They don't foresee too much issue or too much traffic issues. In addition, it's one of their slower stores, so they don't really tend to have too much parking issues there or anything like that. A lot of their traffic's to their car wash, so people are in and out with that. And the rest of the area, as you know, is commercial as well. And exhibits A3 and A4 are just a frontal view of the property. They don't plan on doing any exterior modifications, and as I said, if anything, it'd be an interior, a small renovation to allow for the seating and the beer storage. Their hours are currently 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. They cannot sell alcohol. Yes.
You realize on your thing here, you have 6 to 11 a.m.
I do see that.
It's a 5-hour thing, and, you know, you're gonna really limit it to morning drinkers, I don't know.
I was just getting to that point. I was there. They filled out the application, so I'll fix that for them. They plan to be open until 11 p.m. They are open 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. currently. They don't have any plan to change those hours no matter what happens here today. They can only sell alcohol beginning at 7 a.m., so no matter what, that won't start before that. And they don't operate a 24-hour business right now. I'm not sure if they will or not, but as I said, again, this is a store that they're trying to increase some traffic to if it would help with the rest of the business, but at the same time, they don't want to increase necessarily the hours or change much of their current operation if they don't have to. So their hours are 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The alcohol sales would be permitted in that range from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. They could technically sell till 2 a.m. if they remained open like any other restaurant liquor license could. But again, as I said, they don't currently have plans to do that. They are permitted to sell 192 ounces of beer to go in a single transaction under a restaurant license. So that is pretty much 2 6-packs or 1 12-pack. 2 mixed 6 12-packs of different beers, which they don't usually do. It's usually 12-packs or 6-packs only. And if they did obtain the wine permit, that's 3 liters of wine, so roughly 4 bottles to go. Again, I don't believe they plan on doing that. They've yet to do it in any of their other stores, and it's something that from our other clients that the state is still doing a very good job of selling wine, and so are some of the grocery stores. There's not much of a market there for the small convenience stores. The only reason we are here today, we usually prefer to buy liquor licenses within the township so we don't have to go in front of the board or add another license in the township. As you all know, there's been 3 of these. I think this is number 3 within the last few months. One of my colleagues presented to you for a restaurant a month ago. There's no other licenses available in Hell Township right now. We deal with brokers all the time, and they're constantly after us to buy the licenses that our clients have. So, absent the liquor board issuing more licenses like they did in this auction, you have to buy one outside of the township and bring it into the township. So if there was a license available for a reasonable price, we would certainly try to get that. But they won this license with the Liquor Control Board auctions, which are they're auctioning off expired and administratively revoked licenses from dating back to the year 2000. They have auctioned off about 300 so far. There's been one in Lehigh County every single auction. And there's been a declined interest in them since the original grocery stores and convenience stores got their licensing needs out of the way. The Sheetz, the Giant, Weiss bought a lot initially, but we're seeing around the state there's not a lot of licenses available that are actively entered into townships, and we are having to do through all these hearings frequently. And I think sometimes it gets a bad rep that you're trying to add another license to the area, but in reality, that's all there is. There's no other foreseeable option for them. There's no licenses available. The ones that are currently in safekeeping are being transferred or actively used. So there's really, our only option is to come in this way. We prefer not to do that if we don't have to, but again, I believe that this transfer and the approval, if you will give it tonight, won't have any adverse or negative effects on the township. But it's a highly commercial area. I believe, from what I understand, they've been a good responsible partner with the township in the area. I think they've been operating here since before the Lowe's was put there, from what I understand. And I think this will have minimal effect on the area, not too much issue to the residences. It might offer additional convenience to the residences if they shop at that store or drive by there frequently. So we respectfully request your approval of our intermunicipal transfer, and I will answer any questions that you may have, or members of the public.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one question. On the form you filled out, item 12, what is very little beer on the floor?
Most likely that means that they don't store or sell beer actually on the floor. It's in the coolers.
Then it would be,
So instead of like stacking it up like a
then it
beer
would be
distributor will.
no outside cooler sales.
Oh, no outside. Oh, beer outside of the coolers?
Yeah,
No, their goal is to keep it all cool, so
and
it's,
I don't understand the statement, very little beer on the floor.
well, they don't, see, the thing is with the Liquor Control Board, the way they license, they can't store beer or they'll count that outside of a serving area. This store does not have
I-
the dimensions we have, so
I understand all of that, but I don't understand on the application where they wrote in very little beer on the floor. I don't understand that.
that means that I'm guessing their intention was that they will have very little, if no beer.
They're not allowed to have any beer storage outside of the cooler, are they?
They can, if it's licensed the right way, yeah.
By licensed the right way, that would mean what?
Well, the issue becomes, so if you start stacking in a small convenience store like this, you might see it in some of the bottle shops around. If you start running out of space and they start stacking beer in the serving area, the liquor control enforcement agents can come in and say that this is a storage area now, you don't license that way, or they'll say that you are taking up your seating area and that's no longer a licensed serving area and you're under your 400 square feet requirements. There's a lot of issues at play. They can't put stuff on top of tables. That takes away a seat. So usually in a small store, it doesn't make sense to use the floor because it in effect takes away your serving area, and it usually stores that can be already pretty tight. They'll store in the back if that's what they try.
So basically, they should have just left that sentence out of this application.
If I filled it out, I probably would have. Yeah. From the way they operate now, they keep everything in the coolers. They just did a store on Tillman Street in Coonsville. So if you go over there, they have nothing on the floor at all. It's all in a little beer cave cooler in the back.
But since it's here on this, since it's a statement here in the application, does that mean that they're allowed beer on the floor there? It's on your application.
No, I understand
It's a
that.
statement here. So with that on this application, it has to mean something.
As I said, if it gets licensed, if we license it in a way that would permit that, then yes, it could happen under state law. That's what you're asking.
So do you want to leave that statement in, or do you want to take that statement out as we vote on this ordinance?
I don't believe they need to put beer on the floor, so you can take it out if
That statement
yeah.
can come out of there.
Yeah.
There will be no beer on the floor.
They plan to use the coolers. Yeah, they have enough cooler space in this store.
Okay, that would be on record here then. Okay. Just in the future, I know it's not what we're dealing with here. Where do you propose to get more parking on this lot? If we transfer this license to you? Seems like you're way short of parking if you have seats for 30.
I believe-
Just in the future here, before we waste time, sending you a license, getting a license.
Well, they still have
if
to.
That's what's gonna
They
happen.
still have to comply with zoning, no matter what happens tonight. They have to comply with building codes, zoning codes. You name it, they have to comply with all that.
My question was, what thought did they have about that? Because I count like 8 parking spaces here.
I think there's some along the dry clean or the car wash as well, and their real estate people looked into it and didn't seem to think it would be an issue. But as I said, they will have to deal with that if that becomes an issue, no matter what with zoning.
That's all I have.
Yeah, no matter what zoning controls local uses. So this is the initial step to get us
I
in front of liquor control.
understand that, it was just a question looking into the future.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Can I ask
Hold on.
first? Okay. Training for the people,
Yes.
tell me.
Every employee that's allowed to serve alcohol, so anybody that'd be behind a cash register, they're required to be ramp trained, which is the responsible alcohol management program by the state. The state requires only 50% of your service people to do that. They always have everybody. The owners are trained. The managers are trained. That program, tells you about the tricks people do with IDs, how to see a visibly intoxicated person, how to properly check state IDs from different states, how to, keep yourself as in compliance as possible, and to minimize any effects or issues that come with operating a business that sells alcohol. Their facilities are all ramp certified, which means that all their servers are trained, all their managers and owners are trained. They have followed all the complete requirements by the LCB. They've filed affidavits stating that they have and have been affirmed by the LCB. And that compliance program and certification program is something that we encourage all of our clients to do. But in the event that something would happen, they see that as you took good faith steps to train your people the right way and do that. And sometimes people miss. It's the same thing with the tobacco sales. Sometimes they miss a minor that can't buy them, and those employees get fired. That's their policy with alcohol as well.
Is there a minimum hour type, this program, I don't know this.
So they do it online now as well as in classrooms. I did it when I first started doing this stuff, and I was a server at the Olive Garden in Whitehall for 4 years. We did it there, and it was fairly quick back then, but they've revamped it a lot. I'm not exactly sure what the time frame is, but you can do it in a day. I mean, they have them at local community colleges all the time, and they have it online as well. And they're required to recertify every 2 years.
Okay, so they are certified by
By state,
Pennsylvania.
yep, by Liquor Control Board. Either through a personal in-person training or an online service that the state offers as well.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the floor? You gotta come up and
My name's Lorianne Fainel, live at 3107 North 3rd Street, and I do have a question for you. Do you plan on having any type of security or anything along that line with that store?
The way they currently, as I said, they just redid all their security cameras, interior and exterior of the store. Are you talking like a security, like
Yes, a
bouncer out
security
front?
person.
No, not most convenience stores, grocery stores don't have security people on staff.
And you're saying about being in a commercial district, are you worried about any point of contractors who go to Lowe's who decide they want to pick up beer and say, hey, I'm going to have a few in the back? Do you take that into consideration at all? And the fact that 145 is so heavily traveled, we don't need any more liquor places like this in this township. I just wanted to state that on record.
Our clients have the.
I get it, but I'm just telling you my personal opinion. We don't need it anymore.
Any other comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Sarah, did you put down there then that instead of 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. that it's 6?
6 a.m. Well, store hours are 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Correct?
Currently, yes.
But they can't serve alcohol until 7.
Yes.
And that's 7 days a week,
And
or Sunday later.
Sunday is 9.
Thank you.
It's okay then?
Yeah, we're good. Sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Ginder,
Yes,
Commissioner Warren. Aye. Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Hauer,
Yes.
voting, resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I will pull the next resolution.
Thank you.
We'll now have courtesy of the floor.
Lorianne Fainel,
Thank Again, my name's Lorianne Fainall. I live at 3107 North 3rd Street in Whitehall. There's a couple things I'm going to be talking about tonight since I haven't spoken in the past 2 months. So I did want to talk about the Memorial Day services. I was disappointed, except for one person that I did see that didn't attend Hawk and Dockwoods Post for Memorial that they had on that Sunday. Commissioner Ginder, I saw you there, and I thank you for coming to that. But where was everybody else to maybe give a few kind words? I followed them to each place that they went. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do something special for them. Where was everybody else? Where were you?
I was everywhere.
Were you at Arlington? Because I certainly didn't see you at Arlington.
No, what you have to understand is,
I'm just saying, I'm talking about
We-
kind words, Commissioner. I'm not talking about being present. I'm talking about giving a few kind words. That's what I'm referring to.
you mean I should have publicly
Yeah,
spoken?
a few kind words. Somebody volunteer to give a few kind words. I'm
That's
just
really up to
asking.
the mayor. I mean,
I get it, but I'm just trying to understand, did anybody volunteer to give a few kind words on that day?
Well, quite frankly, it's up to the VFWs and the
Right,
and
but
the
did you just
American Legions
offer
to
it?
invite.
Did you just offer?
No, they request, and they request the
just
mayor to speak.
I'm just asking because there was nobody there to give a
They
few kind words.
request the mayor to speak.
I get it, okay,
Okay.
don't need to.
Well, you're asking, and I'm
Okay, I'm
giving
just
you
saying.
an answer.
The second thing I wanted to bring up is if it's possible for our township to start contacting the dog warden, start doing licensing check and rabies checks. I walk my dog a lot in my neighborhood, and I have come under me walking my dog. People are not having their dogs on leashes in our township, and I know I'm not the only one that's dealing with this. I know Second Street's been dealing with it heavily. People who have their dogs on leashes, and people who think they have these little dogs. Hey, they have free roam. They can do what they want. They won't attack you. I've already had 3 in the past 2.5 months, and 2 recently. So it'd be nice to maybe get in contact with the dog warden as a township, start doing licensing and rabies checks on these people. The other thing I wanted to bring up in my neighborhood is the marijuana that's going on in our neighborhood. It's disgusting. You walk down our block and you could smell it. I mean, literally, to like walk down and it's making you cough. People can't sit on their porches because of it. People can't let their dogs out because of it. This is sickening. This is going on in Hawkandakwa, clear as day. The other issue I want to speak tonight was about fireworks that's been going on. I wanted to share my experience, what happened to my daughter. My daughter was in a public alleyway on the 3000 block of North New Lane when a resident was shooting off fireworks. My daughter heard crackling above her head when a flaming ember, a stick, which I believe to be a bottle rocket, came inches of her head. This is very dangerous. This could have caught my daughter's hair on fire, it could have caught her clothing on fire, or caused a serious burn. And please don't roll your eyes at me, because many times I come to these meetings and I get these facial expressions, and I do know many of you are annoyed by me when I speak, so I already told that. So I'm just voicing my concerns about that. And people that say, turn your TV louder and turn your radio louder to drown out the noise for their pets, understand many people in this township don't have single-family homes. We're connected to each other. So when they turn their volumes up on their TVs and their radios, that can make people get in trouble for a noise complaint, having their music too loud inside. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention with that, and that's all I had to say for tonight. Thank you for listening.
Joni Tedesco,
I don't know. She's in the audience.
Good evening, Mayor Harrickle and Commissioners. My name is Joni Tedesco. I live at 424 4th Street in Whitehall. Once again, I'm coming before you regarding the issue of fireworks. Last year, our area was like a war zone, and it only got worse this year. I know of 2 places in the township that were selling fireworks, a tent in front of Redner's and the other one in the old wine and spirits shop on Mickley Road. I can't help but to feel that the township was helping to promote the sale of them of the fireworks by allowing them as a source of revenue. How much do these people need to pay to put up a tent in the township? And is this building where the wine and spirits shop going to be open year-round, or is it just a temporary thing for the holiday? The laws implemented do not mean anything to many people. On the evening of June 28th, at approximately 9:55 p.m., My neighbor set off fireworks, of which some debris landed in our yard. I've collected the debris for proof. They were discharged within 150 feet of an occupied structure. And again, I don't really know of any place here in the township where there's more than 150 feet from an occupied structure, unless you're out in the boondocks. The neighbor came over to our house, and I think I mentioned this to you, Mayor Harricle, last Monday.
I think on Monday.
Yeah. Our neighbor came over to the house and rapped on our enclosed porch window. And I heard the dogs. We have 3 dogs, and I heard the dogs barking like crazy. I had no idea what the heck was going on. And I went outside, and just like that, a firework went off in her yard. And she said to me, "Hi, it's me." And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, and our dogs are going crazy." With that, I turned around and went back in the house, although my husband stayed out and told her about the 150-foot law. She responded that she was not aware of the law. Incidentally, it traumatized our lab so bad to the extent that I had to give him a vet-prescribed trazodone along with his Thunder shirt on, and that didn't even touch it. He didn't even want to go outside to do his duties, and he's still hesitant, and it upsets me. He's still hesitant, and I need to coax him outside to do his jobs. It's not fair to our dog or any other animal for that matter. And again, like I mentioned a few months ago, it's not fair to the veterans suffering from PTSD, like my husband, or any war, whether it be Vietnam or whatever. I'm sorry. I just get emotional. It's upsetting. I don't think Governor Wolf was ever in the military, so he wouldn't know about the effects of war PTSD. I see it firsthand. And apparently he doesn't care about the animals or anything, only about the revenue that it brings into the state. This morning I had a meeting with State Representative Jeannie McNeil. Mick, do you remember how much we discussed that was brought in to the state? $11 million. There you go. It's a lot of money. Coincidentally, Representative McNeil feels the same way I do. She would have been here this evening, but she had a previous engagement. Representative McNeil was not in office at the time this bill was introduced or signed into Pennsylvania law, and neither was her late husband, Danny. But I'm certain Representative McNeil will be doing her best in the fall to try to repeal House Bill 542, Act number 2017-43. Local laws and ordinances that are stricter than the state's laws, local laws and ordinances must still be followed if in place. Display grade fireworks are to be operated only with a permit. M80s, M100s, cherry bombs, quarter sticks, half sticks still remain illegal under federal law. Unless more strict local laws and or ordinances are put in place within Whitehall Township, things are only going to escalate. No warnings should be given, and citations should be issued. I would like to ask Chief Marks how many fireworks complaints there were received, how many were cited, if there were any injury-related incidents, and if there were any local fire calls. I personally made 2 complaints. One being that a very powerful firework was discharged that I flew out of my chair and our window out front actually rattled. Do I have the right to be PO'd? Absolutely. You bet I do, and with many other residents of this township. Therefore, I'm asking the commissioners to amend the most recent bill, number 25-2019, section 6-3, subsection B5, dated May 13th of 2019, to state that no fireworks or pyrotechnic device shall be discharged between 2200 hours and 600 hours any day of the year. I know I have a copy of the most recent ordinance that was signed on May 14th. And I know it states in there, I need my specs. With the exception of New Year's Eve, when fireworks or pyrotechnic devices may be discharged until 0:30 hours on New Year's Eve, or excuse me, New Year's Day, January 1 at 12:30 a.m., but not between the hours of 0:30, 12:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. I think this should just be across the board. It doesn't matter what day of the year it is. It's disturbing, not only to the veterans, the animals, the elderly, the infants, you name it. It's disruptive. And I hope that I'm not falling on deaf ears. I mean, because this is proof right here, and this is just what was found in my yard. There is a piece in here that I did find where there is still some debris in it. Right there. And I had to actually pull it out of my dog's mouth because he was going after it. I don't know what's in this stuff. You know, I certainly can't afford a veterinary bill for several $1,000s should he get sick. I just think something really needs to be done. And I thank you for your time.
I don't really, obviously I don't disagree. I've been arguing this point for the last couple of years, ever since they made this a law, or at least legalized the sale of those fireworks. I thought that having a 6 a.m. time in our ordinance was sufficient, because I thought, who would be dumb enough to shoot something off at 6 a.m., but at 6:30 on Friday morning, someone shot it off in our neighborhood. I just, for the life of me, do not understand why someone would need to shoot off a firework at 6:30 in the morning. But we can definitely take another look at that at L&L. And you know, the problem is that it's in the state's hands at this point. It was their legalization of these fireworks. Not that people didn't have them before, but I mean, it is absolutely insane. It is insane. At least in my, and then the sad part is that we butt up against other municipalities who have not enacted ordinances or laws to restrict the times. And, you know, you'll still hear them from the neighboring municipalities too. So it's not like we have this wall up around Whitehall Township. So.
I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Howard. The thing of it is, they're just gonna get more powerful. It's like they were given a hand, they're taking the whole arm. Chief Marks, while I'm up here, hello. Do you have any idea how many calls you received regarding complaints of fireworks? Do you have any statistics on that?
Besides you, 13.
And 2 of those were probably mine.
15 with you.
Oh, I'm in the 15. How about, were there any injury-related incidents?
No.
How many were cited? Any?
Nope.
Okay, that answers that.
I think the easier thing to answer is how many did they find actually lighting off fireworks, and the answer is 0.
Excuse me?
They found no one lighting off any fireworks that they could arrest.
And that's a prerequisite for citing.
See, that's the problem, Mrs. Tedesco.
Yeah.
They have to witness this. By the time the call's made and they get there, it's over. They're gone. unless they have a truckload. And I totally agree with you. I mean, but it's commerce. The tent in the Redner's parking lot, you heard me months ago state, aren't we promoting this? TNT fireworks or whoever moved into the liquor store. It's commerce. We can't stop them. As long as
Well,
they
is-
as long as
excuse
they
me.
abide by the law and our codes, it is what it is.
Well,
And expect more. Expect more.
the store, aside of Crazy Cone there on Mickley Road, is that going to remain permanently open to, for the sale of fireworks?
Year-round, like the one out on 78 in Williams Township. It's a permanent store. They have 600 stores nationally. So that's
Oh,
going to be
brother.
365 days a year. We could write all the ordinances in the world. We would need the Russian army to police this. We would need an officer in every corner. We could deploy the Marine Corps, and they couldn't stop this. We live, myself and Mr. Howard, Mr. Ginder, Mr. Soniger, we live on a border in North Whitehall Township, like he said, an unregulated township. You would not believe the nonsense that goes on up there. Now, I'm a Marine. Mr. Ginder's a combat army, soldier.
Right.
It sounded like artillery. I mean, at all hours. First thing in the morning, like Mr. Howard said, up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So
Oh, I
I guess
know.
they go nap for a couple hours and then they return and they start again. And it is what it is. It's the state, unfunded mandates. Our representatives, you read the paper, they stated that they threw this in as some type of bill. They didn't even read the bill, but they passed the bill. And now we live with it.
Well, that's primarily why, I went and spoke with Jeannie McNeil this morning. And like I say, in our conversation, she stated in the fall, hopefully she can
I can
help.
assure you, I don't have a lot of faith. They're getting double the tax revenue. They're getting 12% on fireworks.
Right.
They're getting double the revenue. I can assure you, once the state starts taxation, they aren't retracting taxation. They may even come up with a better way of skimming more off the top. But I can assure you, I don't see this being repealed. They have a large lobbying body. They spend an awful lot of money. That's how they got this through. Your representatives, your state senators, I'm not going to go there, but I feel strongly the reason why this law passed was because everyone turned their head and they saw the revenue generated by this and whatever their lobbyists or whoever did whatever, and that's the way it's going to be. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
And we have to live with it.
yeah.
Quick
I-
comment, if I may. It's actually, the total tax is actually 18. It's 12 on top of the existing 6, so they're getting 18% on it. I went down there on Friday to the one at the old liquor store. They welcomed my request to have them post our existing ordinance on the walls there, and they said they would do that. Not that it's going to matter, but I don't know if they intend to be there permanently or not. But I think that until something happens at the state level, this is going to be uncontrollable.
Right. Well, the tent that was in front of Redner's, do they have to pay the township money?
Just get a permit.
I'm sorry?
Just get a permit for the tent.
Lee, do you know what happens there? What the requirement is for that tent?
They go before the zoning hearing board as a temporary use. They get their permits. I'm assuming they pay BP for whatever
Yeah.
revenue they generate, yes.
I mean, it's nominal. It's nothing, it's not going to stop our, work, but.
Thank you.
Deb Frankenfield?
Hi, my name's Debbie Frankenfield. I live at 1594 Sunset Drive, and I'm here about our disintegrating street. Let me say first of all that last year there was a approximately 8 by 10 wide by at least 18 to 20 feet deep sinkhole there last year that they filled. This year, back May 15th, my husband was out and he saw our neighbor was emptying his pool into the street like he's supposed to, and it was coming down, and actually the mailman stopped him and said, "You might want to come over here and look at this." The water from the neighbor above us came down never made it to the drain below us, but it was going down between the curb and the street. So all the water we have, it scares me where it's going, because there already was a sinkhole there. So it's not making it to the drain. We also noticed that there is down by the drain, there's also another divot. It's starting to sink. And right in front of our house, we thought it was the hole for the water or whatever cover, and it's not, because actually the mayor was there one day and we stuck a screwdriver in it, and it just, it was a long screwdriver, it just goes down. So the mayor did have someone come out, and they came out and they sealed the street, part of the street. And they did everything except where it was leaking in front of our house. So it wasn't sealed. The water's still pouring down there. So finally, Mayor had Mr. Rakis call my husband, and he came out and he agreed the street's deteriorating. He's going to have someone, when he has a crew out sealing, he's going to have someone come and seal where they should have sealed originally. And I don't know when that'll be. He did say he was going to ask the mayor if he could put that part of Sunset Drive on the paving roster, but as from what I understand, it's backed up to 2024. I really do not want a sinkhole in front of my house. I do not want my house to sink. I want this on public record because I truly feel this is a hazard. The hole was not there last year, and the divot by the grate below us was not there. Mr. Rakis came out and looked at it, and he agreed that it's just deteriorating. He said he could seal the whole street. It really wouldn't help. So I just need you all to be aware of that, because the water's still gushing down there. Actually, the mayor has, my husband sent him a video. You can see the water. It's a good flow of it going down there. There's a picture of the hole. There's a picture of the divot down by the drain, whatever it's called, the drain. Yep. But he has all those videos and everything, and I just hope something can be done before it turns into another sinkhole. The sinkhole last year appeared, honestly, I went to work left at 7:30. At about 9:30, 10 o'clock, my neighbor texted me and said that, there's a huge sinkhole out front. So it happened that quickly. So again, honestly, you really should watch the video. It's shocking. The water just disappears. So.
We will definitely look into this, because again, I don't.
We've had both our Public Works Director and his assistant look at it. The street is deteriorating, and we'll be evaluating that as part of our streets program when we get into the budget season. At this point, as was noted by Mrs. Frankenfield, they have sealed to the extent that they feel is necessary.
Well,
we could do this 100 times next, in other areas around the township. But when our Public Works Director and the assistant believes that this is what needs to be done at this point to rehabilitate the situation until it can be fully restored, rebuilt, this is effectively what we have.
With all due respect, Mayor, they sealed everything except where the water is going down between the curb and the street.
You did mention that. I did not get down there again. And
Well,
John assured you that he would get that done, I believe.
There was no time frame. Again, it's not in front of your houses, it's in front of mine. And there was a previous sinkhole. There's a hole there now, and where the drain is. So I really don't know what more has to happen except a huge hole has to open up. So I truly do hope something happens quickly, at least if it comes out and gets sealed. Hopefully the water will at least go down to the drain where it's supposed to, and not underneath the street where it's obviously going. So, thank you.
I hate to bring you into this, Frank, but we all know what we have around here. It's sinkholes all the time. Would anything like sealing the street prevent an active sinkhole from reoccurring, occurring, or whatnot? It just water gets away, finds a way to get down to where the hole is, as far
Well,
as I know.
sinkholes don't form from the surface. They form from underneath. Down below, could be hundreds and hundreds of feet down. And the rising and the falling of the groundwater will act like suction, and it'll prey on the weaker soils. So you may have a sinkhole several hundred feet down, and it may have a finger going this way, another one 100 feet away. Okay, they're generally referred to as solution cavities at that point. Doing anything on the surface is only reacting to what's happening down below. If you cut off the water that's washing down there, you're not going to stop the sinkhole. It's going to continue to live, if you will, put it that way. You may prolong its effect on the surface by sealing it. If the water continues to go down there, it's going to continue to erode the walls of the sinkhole, perhaps further weaken the soils that are already there. I could talk to John, see if he has any other opinions or other insights on this, but essentially, any sinkhole that arrives at the surface, you're just going to react to it. You can't predict it. You can't stop it. Okay, it's a force of nature. And the whole valley is like Swiss cheese. So they're going to appear wherever they want to, and all we can do is react to them. You cannot prevent them. That's not possible. So the only thing we can do is react to it. If we can mitigate the expansion of them, perhaps you might try that, but short of exposing them and plugging them, there's not much you can do from our standpoint for the tools that we have to stop them from happening. I'll check with John, see if there's anything that's he can enlighten me on, and maybe we can come up with a couple ideas. But again, if the sinkholes are around, they're around. You can't change that.
We had 2 open up over the weekend, and another one in a street last week. We're fighting it now. I mean, it's going on constantly.
Yeah, with all this rain, it's not gonna get any better.
Yeah, it's,
Michael, is it Longham?
That's close.
I just can't read your writing, that's okay.
That's okay. I can't hardly either.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm here is I've seen.
You have to state your name and your address.
Michael R. Longenbach. I live at 2001 Pine Street, Whitehall. And I'm here about.
Wait a second. There is no Bach on the end of this. No, honest to goodness, I
Well,
didn't
that's
swear
okay.
that much, okay.
I'm here about the vacation of Green Street, Green Alley, and Apple Street. I was under the understanding when they started building Haven Ridge that Apple Alley was vacated. And now it's still not vacated 10 years later?
Can I speak on that?
Sure.
There was, I did my research, and there wasn't an effort made to repeal the vacancy of that street. The original vacancy was in 2007.
Well,
One of them was.
I'm saying 10, could have been 12.
And it was, I lost my notes here. I apologize. It was to repeal Bill 29, 2007. And this was 16, 2017. And that was to repeal the vacation of Green Alley and Apple Street, Lehigh Street. So I don't know what the history is of that.
Well, I signed paperwork twice on this with Haven Ridge. First, it was with Mr. Attia. when he started building Haven Ridge. You remember, you
remember,
were here.
I lost a lot
And
of hair.
then when it was sold to the new owners, I got another one. And I'm just here, I
No.
don't want to see Apple and Green both get vacated. That surrounds my house.
Well, Apple is goes from Pine Street back to the alley.
The Green,
Right,
correct,
okay. There's a sanitary sewer that runs in there,
correct.
all right? So there was again, going from memory here, I think there was a part of that was repealed because of the sanitary sewer was an improvement, so it can't be totally vacated, all right? But then on Green Alley, the lower part where it intersected Lehigh, we abandoned that section. We didn't want that intersection there anymore.
Right,
It
that
so
was
dangerous
closed
to come out,
probably
right?
back in '07.
Right, so that was part of that Green Alley vacation. I think the original description, the legal description, the meets and bounds and how far it went up, I think that had to be changed or altered. And then it was, the first one was repealed, that took too much vacation, and it was reduced. I forget the lady who used to live at the end with the garage there, but,
Joanne Sabella.
yes, that's it. And, so I think it was reduced this to that lower section below her driveway out to Lehigh Street. And if I recall correctly, it wasn't properly filed at the courthouse, and that's why it's here tonight to officially, there's a couple more that were lost in the shuffle, so it's kind of like a Chinese menu. Okay, we're taking this one, getting that filed, getting this one that was repealed, putting that in the right order, and then getting that filed in the courthouse to make it official.
So the whole alley's not gonna be vacated, just the portion that has been closed.
Yeah.
So it'll still be township property, the alley.
Yes, the alley still is, yes.
And Apple Street is still Apple Street, or has that been vacated?
I'm not sure.
Here, it's from
Yeah.
Pine Street to Green Alley.
It's on the paper for tonight.
Yeah, from Pine to Green Alley, I think it shows as being vacated, but it's not, I think, because it's the public rights aren't, get to build a road there, but the sanitary sewer is in there.
Right.
So those rights are still preserved, because the sewer authority has to be able to get over top of that line and come in and out.
So is it vacated or not?
I'm trying to think, I don't want to mince words, I want to make certain that we say the right thing. Hold on.
This is the Apple Street one.
It is showing on this as being vacated, all right? But there's still.
I don't wanna do anything with it. I
No,
just
nobody's.
wanna know what's going on.
Nothing's gonna change, it stays like it is, but it's not going to be improved to a road. All right?
Okay, so
Okay,
just
it's gonna
staying
stay
as it
just
is.
like it is.
The
with the
township will do
sanitary-
nothing with it,
Correct.
but they are gonna take care of Green
You know, the
as
part
far
that's
as
been closed
plowing
off.
and,
Yeah, that still gets plowed.
okay.
Yep.
Another question I had was, when Haven Ridge tore it up to put in their water lines, we told it would be repaired,
The Green Alley.
correct?
That's all.
And that has never been done,
No, it's not finished yet, they're still working in that upper section.
yes?
And generally what they'll do.
They're past Green,
Yeah, what they'll do is that, they'll wait to the very end and then repave everything. Because of all the equipment and everything else, they don't wanna put the top down, then have it all ripped up. The other advantage to that, even though it gets a little rough at times, is that we've given it more than a few years now to settle. So if there's any kind of settlement that reaches the surface, we can repair that before they put the top on the road. So it's kind of a benefit to make certain that, we don't pave the road and a year later, it's all sagging
Sinks,
again.
right.
So it is kind of rough at times. If there's any issues with it, let me know, and then we can go out and have them patch it in the meantime.
so we need to wait till they're done building.
Yes. That's generally.
So
what
we're
they-
at their convenience, whenever they're ready,
No, well, it's not, it's two things
so
here.
it could be another 5 years.
No, it won't be that long. They're finishing things up. We have security on all developments that are going in. Okay, so the value of any improvements that are not yet built, we have in the bank. All right, we have that cash in the bank, or their security vehicle, I should say. Well, so if a developer says, I'm done, I'm walking away, we have the money to finish it. So it will get finished, but you generally don't want to put that brand-new top on the road and finish it and still have equipment driving over it. Because they're gonna tear it up. And we're stuck again with a road that's all beat up.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be much longer. That third phase is almost built out, all the way up to that cul-de-sac. So you're probably, my guess is within 2 years, you'll have a top on that road,
All right, thank you.
okay?
Don Prince.
Good evening. My name is Don Prince. I live at 2003 Pine Street. I'm Mike's neighbor. And fortunately, you answered most of the questions that I came here along with. We saw in the Whitehall Copley Press that they were going to vacate Green Street. And that is our only access and egress to our driveways, garages, et cetera, for everybody that lives on Pine Street because there is no parking. Now that you've clarified, it's only the very lower end from that S-turn that comes off Ari Lane to Lehigh Street, that really, there is no street there anymore.
Correct.
I do have two questions. You had mentioned something about patching it. Right now, it has settled, and if you go down here about 10 miles an hour, it's like a washboard.
Okay.
Secondly, we had seen the original plans when ITEA first owned it,
Okay.
and Green Street was supposed to actually be 20 feet wide. It is less than 17 feet wide. I have a Chevy Colorado, full-size. I can barely get out of my parking area without hitting the curb that Paxos put in right across the street from us. Don't think there's anything we can do about it now, but they've not been true to plan that we've heard about 10 years ago.
Well, what I recall, Green Alley is 20 foot wide.
It's 17 feet in some
The
places.
paving might be 17 feet, but it's over as far into Haven Ridge as it can go, all right? The right-of-way, which is the 20 foot, which is the right-of-way, which is the actual ground that Green Alley occupies, okay, is 20 feet wide. The paving, it could go probably further towards your properties more, all right? That would give you the full 20 foot width of paving. But they've taken the paving out as far as they can towards Haven Ridge, which is still within that 20 foot right of way. So there's a little bit of a nuance there.
Yeah, it just seems like since they've put, and I can't even call it sidewalk, because some of the sidewalk is at a 30-degree angle. It's more like a median strip.
Yes, that's infill. That's the,
Yeah.
so you don't have to maintain the bank, all right? But
Right.
when that curb was put in along the back part of the alley, that was right on the property line. Okay, so that's as far over as they could go.
Okay, so they put it right up on the property line. They couldn't
go
move it
further.
in a little bit more instead
Well,
of putting a 4-foot median in there?
Well, no, because that was the end. The 4 foot median and that slope is on their property.
Yeah.
Right? But again, when Mr. Tia developed it, they wanted to hold that line to keep their density numbers where they were.
Okay, I understand.
Right?
So, but anyway, I'm glad it clarified.
Mhm.
If it would have said that in the paper, Mike and I probably wouldn't have been here.
No, understood. No, that's, well, at least you'll know.
But
a little more now.
we do have a concern with the ruts.
Okay,
I mean,
I can order that.
Pretty much like a washboard as you
Okay.
go down there.
I can get that modified in the meantime to have
Yeah,
that.
just a
smoothed
cold
out.
patch or something nice until
Yeah.
Mr. Paxos decides to finish.
That's no problem. I can get
Okay,
that done.
thank you.
So Frank, this does not interfere with their access to their property?
No,
We still maintain it?
whatever's out there today stays there.
Okay.
All right? Whatever we've taken away and put it back in the grass, that's what we're vacating.
Thank you.
Lenora Martucci.
Lenora Martucci Johnson, I couldn't fit all that. 754 Mickley Road in Whitehall. I'm here I put down two things. My first one, I just want to say I've come to a couple of these meetings, and I really like the way you commissioners stick up for the residents. I was here for that one with the trucking, and you went against them, because I was right, and you went against Sheets. And I've never come to these meetings before, even though my mother worked for the township forever. Anyway, okay, about Sheets, is Whitehall still fighting that in court? I was just curious, because I know what Sheets is doing. Yeah, okay. Then my second thing is there a date on that hearing in Lehigh County?
Nothing's been scheduled yet.
Nothing yet, okay, all right. My next thing is, as a retired person who lives in Whitehall, I pay a lot of taxes. So I think that everybody should have to pay taxes. And I'm aware of certain places that claim to be nonprofit that don't pay taxes. Now, honestly, I have a friend who works in the Lehigh County, and a lot of townships are now, what do you call it, challenging tax exempt places. And I was wondering why Whitehall doesn't do that. I did talk to the treasurer about it.
Okay.
Do we have any idea? I just have two. I mean, there's many actually, but I have two that are local near me. They're old fire companies. Now, we used to, way back, have those buildings. I'm 60-some years old and lived here for 62 years. But now they're not like that anymore. We pay rent to those establishments to house our trucks, I'm told. So really, they no longer qualify as tax exempt, so they should have to pay Whitehall taxes too. Right?
I'm not a tax expert.
Yeah. So I didn't know who else to ask. I asked the treasurer, and I thought I'd come here and ask what we can. I know what we can do about it. All we have to do is file a petition.
Okay.
And there's proof that they don't have records showing they're nonprofit. I have that. So how do we get to do this?
What did you just say?
I said there's proof that there's no records showing they're a nonprofit. Because there is no records for the last 2 years. They don't keep books.
What
I
company?
didn't go through everybody's. You know
What
what I mean?
companies are we talking about?
We're talking about the Fullerton Fire Company in the West Caddy. But there's more than that. But I only brought their records. And they've both been cited in the last 2 years for having no records, which means they can't prove they're a nonprofit. So why don't they pay real estate tax? That's my question. I know I talk in roundabout stories. I'm not good at this public speaking thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? If they're really not a nonprofit, why do they get away without paying taxes when I pay taxes? You pay taxes?
Well, my feelings on this, dear, is, just referring to the fire companies
Yeah.
and places of worship.
Oh, not places of worship. I'm not talking about
No,
them.
I'm just saying, my approach is hands-off, and I'll tell you why. The nominal tax revenue that will be generated by charging the fire companies, and you have to look at the big.
No, I'm talking about real estate taxes.
Yes,
That'd be
I
a lot.
understand. But you have to look at the big picture here. The good that those organizations do for the township,
What do they do? Tell me, sir.
they fight our fires and save our.
No, I'm not talking about charging we pay rent.
Yes.
I'm talking about the private club guys who don't pay taxes. I'm not talking about our fire department. Of course, I'm all for them.
Right.
I don't think we should have to pay rent.
But see, what you have to understand is those clubs, those organizations subsidize our firefighters.
And according to the fire chief, they haven't in 5 or 6 years. That's what the fire chief
Well,
told
see,
me.
that was the foundation that these companies were
Oh,
built.
you're right, years ago. Years ago.
And it's a slippery slope. Let me just,
You know, I mean, if they did give money to the fire department or take care or maybe charge us no rent. As a taxpayer, I pay rent.
Well, see-
So they shouldn't get rent if they're
Well, see,
helping.
the reason why they get the rent, and it's more of a subsidy than a rent, and I'll tell you what it is it's tough today in this environment. It's tough to get a volunteer. It's tough for them to do fundraising. I'll give you an example. Egypt, they held spaghetti dinners
Okay.
since the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't generate an awful lot of revenue out of it, but God bless them for trying.
Mm-hmm.
And any dollar that they can collect that helps their cause, because just to maintain these facilities, and I serve on the Copley-Whitehall Sewer Authority, they've reached out to me time and time again for help, plumbing issues, sewer issues that were related to the facility itself. What you have to understand is it's an all-volunteer organization. These people.
I think you're not getting what I'm talking
No,
about.
I understand what you're saying. It's the social.
I'm not talking about the fire
it's the
department. They're
social
wonderful.
side. I understand where you're coming from, but see, that's the foundation that these organizations were built on. And
Yeah,
my
but that
biggest
was
fear,
years
and
ago.
I'm just giving you my personal belief.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is if you go back generations, because we have generations of
Mhm.
firefighters in this township, my feelings are if we go down that slope, they're going to become bitter. And we're going to have actually people walk away from these organizations because they're feeling they're being unjustly treated.
Do you think most firefighters are part of an organization? They're volunteering for Whitehall.
Some are.
Not for
some
that.
are, and it goes back, and the roots are deep. And I'm
Oh, I agree with that. I come from here. That's what I'm saying. I come from here. I know how Whitehall started. I know how Fullerton started. I was here when we didn't even have a park or anything. But you can't, it's not fair to us residents that we have to pay and just other people don't. I think maybe what we could do is work it out where we don't have to pay them rent anymore. That's a fair flip-flop.
Well, see, they use that,
What did they use that for? Come on.
well, for upkeep. These buildings are expensive to maintain.
But the fire department, according to the fire chief, maintains the portion that we use. I'm all getting this from the fire chief.
But as far as heat and electric,
That's what they
These
said.
things, I mean-
The fire chief said we pay for that, the taxpayers. So why should we pay rent if we're also giving them free
years
taxes?
ago when we started,
Yeah, you're right. Years ago, everything was volunteer.
no, years ago when we started paying these stipends, these departments housing the trucks,
Mhm.
it was to cover light and heat and utility bills and stuff.
And
I-
still-
I think Jack has a pretty good handle on what our relationship is with them, so.
Yeah, we don't pay, there's some discrepancy, there's one or two stations that say that we are paying their, an electric bill for them for one of their meters, I think it was the Laurel and one of the others, but I know we don't pay anything for Fullerton, and I know we don't pay anything for Hawkier, and I don't think for West Caddy.
So we don't pay rent
Not
then?
utility, well, no, we pay every year, we give them, money.
I mean, that's what I was told.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't understand why they get rent from us, me as a taxpayer, and then they also get to pay no taxes and I have to pay taxes.
I would
Makes no
suggest that
sense.
I would suggest that if you believe you have information that indicates they're abrogating their responsibilities to effectively maintain their nonprofit status,
Here's just a little.
we'll sit down and talk about it. Hang on to that. We'll schedule time to sit down and you can make your case.
And something else you have to remember,
That's all.
if we have to go out and look for places to house these fire trucks,
I'm sorry, it's me. I thought I had it turned off.
if we have to go out and go in the open market to pay for places to house these fire trucks.
You're right. That would be costly.
This is gonna cost,
Uh-huh.
this is gonna cost the taxpayer quite a bit of money.
But we're paying
To
quite a
house
bit
these
now,
trucks.
too, anyway.
Well, I think we're getting a bargain with what
Oh,
we're
I don't
paying
know, not
now
from what he
compared
told me.
to if we had to build buildings to house these trucks in the
Uh-huh.
neighborhoods.
Again, I'm just going by the numbers I was given. It
Yeah,
doesn't
so
seem that cheap.
there's, as Commissioner Mark said, there's
Well,
a lot to consider here.
Yeah, I understand.
let's do,
Are we really getting a bargain or aren't we, is the question.
and that's the.
See, I think that if we went to them and said, okay, we know we could charge you real estate taxes, and let's face it, some of the properties are pretty big. Okay, let's say I pay maybe close to $8,000 in real estate taxes, and their properties are as big as mine. If you said to them, okay, you don't have to pay real estate tax, but we get free rent, that's a hell of a good deal for them. Right?
And the other question I have is, doesn't this all end up down at the county assessment office?
Yes, and that's who told me what to do.
Okay.
Because a lot of municipalities are doing what I'm asking you to do.
Against their
That's how
fire
I know,
departments?
how would I know this against organizations?
Their fire departments?
Yes, organizations that used to be nonprofits. Yes, a lot of them are changing the rules.
See, the problem is segregating the social side from the
Yeah, that's what we
commercial
would
side
need
or
to
whatever
do.
you want to
Yeah.
call it. And here's what they could do. Fullerton could say, get your trucks out of our garage. We'll pay the taxes. They could.
Why
Then
would
what-
they do that
then-
when they'd be so high
because
and
they
they save
could.
money?
But who is gonna be the beneficiary of charging them real estate tax? The school
Maybe you
district.
could lower mine?
The school district is gonna be the beneficiary because they have the highest millage. And where are you gonna find places within each of the places, in each of the districts in Whitehall Township? I mean, we could find a certain area to do that, but then do you wanna wait if you live in Cementon for 15 minutes or 10 minutes for a truck to get there when you have one right in your own neighborhood?
So you're thinking they wouldn't let the fire trucks be there anymore?
It's
So they're
possible.
kind of holding it over your
why
head?
would, if they have this new charge of thousands of dollars imposed upon them, why would they not ask for some consideration in order to do the township the service of keeping our apparatus there?
Well, then they would just have empty buildings, you're saying? They would throw us out?
They possibly could and.
They
rent the
possibly
buildings
could,
out.
or they could
Yeah,
be reasonable.
Or I think they are reasonable.
they get rent from us and they get no taxes. I don't think that's reasonable. Okay, that's fine if that's what you think.
I think, well, I know
That's
that
okay with
we have contracts with all of them. But if you can prove that we have a problem here, I'm willing to listen to
I'm
you.
not
I
saying
just don't think
We have a problem,
that
I'm
we're
saying
in,
everybody should pay.
I don't think we're in the position that you think we are right now. So
I'm just
let's
trying to-
work that through.
Yeah, everybody should pay, that's all.
Okay.
If I have to pay, then everybody should pay. I'm not gonna say, I got this from the assessment office, all other municipalities are doing it now. So I just thought it was a way to generate revenue, but if you don't want to, that's okay too. All right, that's all I have. I do have proof, I'll send it to you.
Well, let's,
Yeah.
if you can make that case and we can verify that,
But it's starting
we
to
can
sound
talk
like you
about
don't
it.
want to, so, you know what I mean? Then I'd
And you
be
got this
wasting my
information
time.
from our.
If
our
I
police-
could,
I'm
if
asking
I
a
could
question.
do it myself, would I get a break on my taxes? Not that hard to do. I'll make you a deal. I'm always about the money.
It actually is pretty hard to do. I mean,
Okay.
it costs, Whitehall Township has done that in the past, not non-taxable, but we've made tax appeals on
Mm-hmm.
behalf of properties we believe to be underassessed, and it is not a cheap venture to do,
Okay.
because we do have to go to court to do
Yeah,
that.
I know. I mean,
Not
I'm well
only-
aware of that.
Not only to the assessment office, but then to the probability of the appeal into the county court system, so.
Okay.
there's
That's all.
specific state regulations that control this, so.
Yeah, they told
if
me
you-
all this at
If
the
you
assessment.
feel that you want to sit down and talk, I'm certainly willing to
Okay,
to
all
talk
right,
about
we'll do that. Yeah, because I'd be willing to do it if I get a reduction. Thank you.
I don't think,
I know, I'm only joking.
I don't think we're going to wind up
Yeah.
finding that it's a problem.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Moving on to public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 39-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for asbestos abatement consulting in accordance with section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion? Joe?
I'll second it.
Jeff? Any comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 40-2019, an ordinance deferring the required installation of sidewalks along the MacArthur Road frontage of 2630 MacArthur Road for a distance of approximately 240 feet as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the floor? I'm sorry, from the board. Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board. Oh, sorry.
Not sure if I need to make a comment. It didn't sound like I do. My name is Bob Gage. I'm with GBT Realty. We are a development company out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we are proposing the development at this location, 2630 MacArthur Road. Basically just asking for a deferral on the requirement for sidewalk along MacArthur Road. Along that same intersection, quarter of a mile in either direction, there are no existing sidewalks leading up to that intersection, and we feel like it's a little unsafe to direct pedestrians to that intersection. So for that reason, we're asking for deferral.
You do realize you're on the side where the high school is, and they meander down that way sometimes?
Currently, that is where the Pier 1 establishment is.
I know exactly
There
where
are no
this is.
sidewalks there now.
I know that too. That doesn't mean people don't walk there.
Well, I understand, but it just seems dangerous to us to direct pedestrians to that intersection. It's a huge intersection.
And this is not getting at you, but every time we have this, he knows that I bring it up. There's, to me, you have to have sidewalks, especially on MacArthur Road. You're just asking for these people mainly when it gets snowed, and there's people saying, I'm not walking in snow, I'm gonna walk on the edge of the road. And that's where they do it. Now, let me see, am I gonna get hit more where there's sidewalks, or am I gonna get hit on the road?
I understand what you're saying.
And I don't care if they have to walk up, make a right, and then go over, and then come down at the Chick-fil-A. That's beyond.
They're not gonna
where-
do it. They're gonna walk in the road.
I'm gonna tell you, that's why, for me, when you were in here with planning, I'm just sitting there saying, nope, I myself am not gonna vote for this. Simple as that, because I want people off of MacArthur Road.
Understood.
I've seen people walk from Chick-fil-A to Pier 1. I've seen people walk from Burger King to Pier 1. One comment I do have is the waiver said that the gap between Sutler Drive is too long. Is that?
That's what PennDOT's
Yeah.
position is.
The crosswalk from Sutler, or from the Pier 1 to the bookstore, there's a diagonal crosswalk that's on the current plan.
Second Charles now.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's 85 feet long, 80 to 85 feet long.
Right.
To get
One that
from
we're proposing.
what you're proposing. And so but to cross Sutler Drive to the median is only 40 feet. So I'm thinking it's only about 80 feet in total from end to end. You know, it would be nice if that median was wider. That would provide a landing, but, you know, you have, in one scenario, you have a crosswalk going diagonal that's 80 feet long that you're proposing. In the next scenario, you're suggesting that crossing Sutler Drive 80 feet is too long.
Well, I think
Well,
the traffic impact
It's-
on,
yeah, It's the traffic,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just see people there. There's gotta be a better way to get people from end to end. If they're,
Well, right now, that's all we have, and again, when Chick-fil-A came through, you know, there was talk about it, and PennDOT weighed in on it, and they did not want pedestrians crossing Sutler Drive at that approach across all those lanes because of the heavy traffic coming through, and there's no rest area in the median, if you will, if you want to take your life in your hands and stand on that. But again, it's a matter of, well, we looked at it this on the other side too, when the mall, or the shopping center came through, about maybe in front of the Burger King, we had to take it back to a lesser impact intersection, you know, the first intersection back. So that's what's being contemplated right now on the other side of the street. So if we have to go that route, we may have to pull the pedestrian traffic back off of MacArthur Road. Again, human nature, are you gonna go the shortest distance? I can see myself getting right across there. Some people are gonna do it, they do it now. All right, I can't change human nature, all right? But is it possible to provide a safer path? Perhaps, but it's a longer path.
I mean, PennDOT has proposed a multimodal study for MacArthur Road.
Right.
So saying no pedestrians, but then propose a multimodal study.
Right.
The multimodal concept is being introduced everywhere throughout the state. They're eager for us to do sidewalks, to guarantee that we have adequate opportunities for people to walk safely. It's hard to do at times. When I was on the planning commission initially, I got laughed at for saying we should be putting sidewalks in all of these new properties along MacArthur Road. I still think we should.
And ideally, it would be off the curb line, 2 feet off. I mean, it's a landing spot for the snow. I mean, there's people that walk in front of the high school to McDonald's and when the snow's not plowed.
to me, you direct them around the intersection, back into the shopping center.
Any other comments? Comments from the floor? No? Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
No.
Commissioner Marks,
No.
Commissioner, Warren,
No.
Commissioner Sloniker, no, Commissioner Fryman,
No.
and President Hauer.
No.
Bill does not pass, 6 nays, 0 ayes.
Public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3070, a resolution conditionally approving the land development plan of Whitehall multi-tenant building located at 2630 MacArthur Road, index number 1935-19. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
And President Hauer.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3071, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for new land development of Cashel Builders located at 3030 South 3rd Street, Whitehall, PA. Index number 1917-18. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor?
Fryman.
Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
President Hauer.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3072, a resolution confirming the prior vacation of all or a portion of 2 unnamed alleys, Apple Street, Green Alley, Bridge Street, and American Street, approving the road vacation reports for such vacations and authorizing and directing the township solicitor to file the road vacation reports with the clerk of courts, criminal division, and the road docket. I have a motion.
I'll move.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
And President Hauer.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve a memorandum of agreement to renew a contract with Citronia Ambulance Corp. to provide emergency medical services and granting the mayor to execute such agreement on behalf of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Hauer?
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Board of Commissioners reports.
Excuse me, before we move on, may I just interject? I have information that I put in front of you relative to the Riverside project in Allentown. This is the second year that they'll be seeking to get federal funding to help support that project. It impacts Whitehall to the effect that there is a proposed road that will come up to Wood Street. We've discussed this a number of times in the past. And the extension of the D&L Trail up to Race Street. It's my intention to submit to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission a letter from me indicating my support of the project and hope that that grant is approved. Question is the board interested in supporting that project also? And if so, I understand that you could make a motion to do that at this time if you'd like to.
I would make that motion.
If we make a motion to support that project, do we have to put a dollar amount up?
No.
We don't have to talk money at this.
All we're doing is saying we're in support of the grant application. We put no money at risk at all. We don't do anything other than say, yes, we're a neighboring municipality that is affected by this. Part of the project comes into our municipality and we support it.
If we write a letter in support of this and these grants happen,
Yes.
do they have the ability to come and say, here's your percentage of
No.
money that has to be
No,
thrown?
not at all.
That's what I'm concerned about with what's going on behind this building. It's very important. We have a $17, $18 million project
Right.
going out back, and I don't want to get too extended too far in the future. We got our hands full back there.
All this is, and I write these things monthly in support of grant applications.
just being very cautious when the federal government's involved and you say, I'm gonna support something, that it doesn't come back and bite you. We learned that lesson 2 years ago. It was very costly.
The request from the planning commission came, they still don't have the final numbers, but they're looking for support from municipalities. I wrote one last year. We can just do it jointly if you wish, but there's no money involved here at all.
I support the project. I just don't want them to come to us and say, 2 years from now, well, here's your bill, you supported it.
Absolutely no money at risk here.
I have no problem supporting it if we don't have to make that kind of commitment right now with what's going on in the back of this building.
So what I'm suggesting, or what I'm asking is that you have a motion to support the Riverside Drive Multimodal Revitalization Corridor project in Allentown and Whitehall, and that you authorize the sending of a letter in support of that project to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission.
Jeff already made the motion. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that then.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Hauer?
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Now we'll move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Marks?
I would like to make a request. Recently, myself and Commissioner Ginder toured the Pryden Farm. I met with the mayor when he was brought on board a little, 14, 15 months ago. We toured the property when he first came on board. Since then, we met one of our staff members there, went into the house against my best interest. Since then, the property has degraded substantially. Now, between us, we have over 75 years' experience in building trades. We appropriated $25,000 to weatherize that building. I don't think any of the appropriations were used this calendar year so far. And what I'm asking for is a comprehensive, unbiased inspection by code. Because recently, there was an action taken against the property at Columbia and 145, right across from Winding Brook, the cement home. Similar in scope, but the condition of our property, and we have to be stewards of society. I mean, this is the taxpayers' money. The property's overgrown. We recently had a police action there where an outside agency actually had to come in with a canine. They brought an emergency response team out, surrounded the property, couldn't go in for hours because the police decided not to for some reason. My concern is children, a vagrant, homeless person is going to break into that property, start a fire. Even if we don't know if someone's in the property, we're going to have to go in and do a search. I think it would be a tragedy if we lost a first responder, a firefighter, for no reason whatsoever. The building, in my professional opinion, has degraded to a point where it would have to be stripped to grade and rebuilt. The wallpaper is physically falling off the ceiling. The moisture content in that plaster is so bad, you'd have to remove all the plaster and laughing. The exterior of the building, the dry-vit cladding that's attached to the brickwork, what brickwork is exposed has no grout or mortar left. So you'd have to take the facade, in my opinion, off the building. The millwork on that building has degraded so badly that basically you'd have to take the whole soffit off the building, the majority of the roof. You can actually see daylight when you're in the attic out of numerous places in the soffit and the roof areas. I don't know what our major plan is for that property, but and the barn and the summer kitchen are another story. The barn is so overgrown, you can't even see the barn anymore, or it's very hard to see. My concern is somebody's gonna get in there, someone's gonna get hurt, and we're libelous at that point. Why do we continue to support these properties with no plan or no action taken? And if we're gonna hold our citizens, businesses, private citizens responsible for their properties, we should be good stewards and we should be responsible for ours. So that's my ask.
I think your positions at this point are true. We have not spent money this year. We have engaged a Wesley Reed to remove the gable on the west side of the barn because it's leaning. Yes, it was broken into. Somebody took a shovel and smashed at the area around the one window. It was levered out so that somebody could have gotten in there. The assessment of the police when they went in was that they had not gone into the house. It's possible that they did, but there wasn't any damage in there. Nothing was taken. We did re-secure that. And the intent before the end of the year is to complete at least the soffitting, because we have, last year, if I recall correctly, there wasn't a hole in it. So you're right, Joe, it has degraded.
But how can
So we need to, if we're going to keep it, and at this point, we have spent, of course, a lot of man-hours in cutting grass, et cetera, down there. But I think we paid $12,500 for the property. There was an attempt to have a comprehensive plan done on the property. And frankly, after Phil asked the question last week, I realized that